My children have to live with what they call Dad's bad time. So they too will carry the burden of a war.
His mood depends on whether he has good or bad writing days.
The struggle to make something good. And what a struggle.
Look at this big Texas sky, Horton.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been one reason why your plays have so much space in them?
My plays come out of a lot of meditation. I do not know where they come from, but they're very persuasive when they start going in me.
It's not really fair to ask the question, what was Action Park? Basic level, you can say it was a water slide park. But in truth, it was so much more than a water slide park.
Action Park was the chaos summer park with very little oversight, too much alcohol, whistles blowing, people screaming, motors running. It was an energy, you know? You knew you were jumping into the fire pit.
The most dangerous theme park of all time. There was a water slide that held one person that went in a flip. It looked like a bunch of kids built it because that's what it was.
We'll be back with more Headbangers Ball coming from Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey, the biggest water park in the world.
Those are some clips from this season's top episodes, and this is Factual America. We're brought to you by Alamo Pictures, an Austin and London-based production company making documentaries about America for international audiences. I'm your host, Matthew Sherwood. Each week I watch a hit documentary and then talk with the filmmakers and their subjects. Today we're looking back over the past year as we come to the end of Season 2. Helping us to walk down memory lane is my podcast partner in crime, Patrick Scott Armstrong, host of the Lone Star Plate podcast, Factual America's sister podcast. Patrick has been on before and interviews famous Texans and explores compelling Texas stories. I recommend you give Lone Star Plate a listen. It's one of the more entertaining podcasts out there. Given my Texas roots and the overlap between documentary filmmaking and truly compelling stories, we decided to team up to celebrate what was, for all of us, one of the most challenging years of our lives. I hope you enjoy this special edition of Factual America. Patrick, welcome to Factual America. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Lone Star Play podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be back on. So how have you been? Have you had a good pandemic?
Yeah, I've had...
Well, first of all, can I, and we're not going to cut this, but I'm just saying, can I have a, I think, because given my Texas roots and what you are all about, I think we need to do, I know you're not drinking yet, but okay. I may drive you there. We need to do a little tribute to Dusty Hill. Art, rest in peace.
CZ Top.
Sorry to hear about that yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
As I shared with someone, some people who thought it was funny, their song Tush, right? You know, until I read the obit or the little news, I thought the title, all these years, I thought it was Touch.
You got oh man, I've done that to so many songs.
And so my brothers are like, well, what else did you get wrong? What did you think Tube Snake Boogie was called? You know?
What did you think the other song? She's Got Eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I thought they had to. You see, the thing is, I got all the innuendos and stuff like that. I just thought it was something they had to do for like corporate radio, so they kind of changed it to me, and I heard it in my ears as Touch.
Now listen,
right?
maybe there were some moments where they said that, you know, in particular point. I mean, that, you know, let's not put it past it. That has happened before musically, maybe not intentionally.
Yeah. So back to the here we are. End of season 2. How many episodes are you up to?
For us, it's end of season 3.
It's season 3. Oh, yeah, wow.
Season 3 for us.
Because didn't we get started at the same time? Did you add a season in there someplace?
I think we did. Somehow we mixed it up. We do a lot of episodes, right? We do a lot more episodes than you guys do. So I think we just, somewhere in there, we broke it up. I honestly, I can't remember. Oh, I think it was from the fall last year. We considered like that its own season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we've had this monster long season, now that I think back on it.
From the fall, winter break, and
all the way through. So we've got 44
We broke that up into
episodes or
two. We broke that up into 2 seasons.
I mean, I said we did 44 episodes. You do that in a week or a month, I think.
But yeah. Which is a lot. 44 episodes is a lot.
Yeah.
Anybody to do more than 2 podcast episodes is a lot. That's the truth. Most people just do 1 or 2 and then it gets scratched.
Yeah, and we keep them coming, and we don't take, except for Christmas and, in this summer break coming up, we don't take any breaks. So, big changes for you. You've changed studios. We've changed studios. Well, you've got your own home studio there, don't you?
Yeah, I've always done it from the house, except initially before the pandemic started. We used a studio in Austin. But once I transitioned to home after the pandemic, I've changed it like a few times, so people have seen it change a few times. This is where we're at now. This is the home. This is the home studio right here. So yeah, we changed, and I moved to Dallas. So we did the podcast in Austin for a long time. Now I'm in Dallas. Still the same.
Yeah. And so think about, unfortunately, it's been obviously it's been a rough ride for a lot of people this last 18 months, to say the least. But it's been absolutely amazing. You've not stood still. A lot of people have, nothing's really changed in their lives. It's been Groundhog Day for 18 months. But you've picked up and moved. You've changed studios. You've done all kinds of stuff. It's pretty amazing. And then in season
Texas.
3, what's that?
I said it's Texas. That's what we do. Pandemic, true. What? We were like, what?
Exactly. I have it in my intro. I imagine you do in yours. But maybe explain to our both of our audiences what this episode is all about.
Yeah, totally. So look, we're coming up on the end of the season. A lot of the people that work on your podcast work on our podcast, right? So vice versa, right? So it just made sense that we would sort of do this together, and just sort of looking back at the end of the season, favorite episodes, different backstories, just wrapping it up with different things. What we sort of taking a poll approach to what we thought these favorite episodes were. And again, there's a lot to choose from. This is really hard to do, to be honest with you. You're going to hear a lot of honorable mentions, right? Because it's really like in no particular order. I don't want to do anything like that either. Every guest is special in their own way. But there are some that just stand out for whatever reason.
Exactly. I was going to say that I was thinking the exact same thing. One thing that came out of this, out of us trying to put this episode together, which our audience is quickly figuring out that we've just really haven't spent any time trying to put this together. Is that you and I both do not listen or watch our podcasts again after they've been recorded. Is that right?
I think like most podcasters.
Is that what? Do you think that's most?
Unless they're just starting out and they haven't done any, and they, just in their basement or something, like they're probably rewatching them maybe for whatever. But dude, we've been through it. We did it. Like we were there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You were. First of all, you have too many to do that. Second, I think I guess that's true. All podcasters. I have really fond, excellent, vivid memories, but like life, I don't feel the need necessarily to take that conversation I had in a bar 20 years ago or whatever and watch it or listen to it again. Sure. It's just there's a it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of done and dusted, as they say here. I think
maybe maybe listening to like the first episode, right? Just like it's so far back to maybe just compare. It would be for a different reason. But I've definitely watched lots of clips here and there, right? I'm sure you have too.
Yeah. Well, and also, and I watch yours when I can. It's just.
That's what I'll listen to. I'll listen to your podcast, someone else's, not mine. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, it's new to me. I'm a fan.
And I have to be honest, because I was talking to my daughter, and she has to film something for school, and she's just psyching herself out, and she keeps messing up, and she's just like, and I said, well, my main advice was her not to think too much about it. And I said, that's when I thought of this. I was like, I never listen or watch my recordings ever again. But partly because I'm scared as hell. That week after a recording, that time between we record and release, I'm waiting for the call. I'm waiting for the email saying, "Oh, Matthew Sherwood really messed that one up," or "He offended me," or "He got that wrong," or "We don't want to be a part of this." There is a little bit of that, I think, at least in my case.
Okay.
But there we go, a little bit of sharing. I like that. But before we dive in to the top 3 podcasts of the year, I think we should. We've both had episodes that went essentially kind of went viral.
No, you did really.
You did. You've had. Well, it depends on what you're looking at. You had.
We had some clips and stuff, that did well or whatever. But not
depends
on
on what you're
level.
looking at. We do well on YouTube, but I would say you do better than we do on a lot of the podcast channels.
I don't know.
So,
I really don't even know how.
Because because actually I've got you in my sights and I'm very competitive and I just want to make sure.
I don't even worry about that.
No,
I don't even know
I'm
the
just
numbers.
joking.
I know nothing. I show up to these interviews and I'm like, let's do this. And that's where I leave it.
I'm just joking, really.
No, of course.
But no, you had was Tobolowsky this? You've had Tobolowsky on again, Stephen Tobolowsky. This is just so out there. Yeah. He's great episode. Not one of we're not putting it as one of our top 3 or even 5, maybe 5, but not because you've had some amazing ones. You've had James McMurtry recently on. Because that's
a great episode.
That's a great episode. That didn't even make the list, But
it's tough. Like some of these ones near the end of the season, I felt bad of even considering it because it's like you just heard them and then we're gonna mention them again. Even though we have some great episodes that have come out recently and that are ones that's coming out today. In fact, that I would love to mention. To be honest with you. Yeah, that's it. Aaron Franklin. That was a great one. I didn't even bring that up. That's a great episode. And James.
So as you say, there's so many it's hard to single. We're not actually. It's like with all this hemming and hawing. It's like the Oscars, right? When you go up there, when you go up there, that will ever happen to me. But it's when the people go up there and they have to say the thanks and the music starts playing pretty quickly because it's time to get off and it's just ridiculous. And you invariably, they all say, I'm going to leave someone out. Doing this sort of exercise really, it leaves so many out. I would say there's not, on both sides, there's not a Duff podcast in the bunch. We wouldn't release it if they were, so they're all really good.
In fact, we have some that we haven't released this season. For that reason. I'm not even going to say the name. The only person who knows is the person who recorded it with us.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That's the only person who knows. Why didn't my episode come out?
We have ones. I think it's from last season. Actually, we have one of those though. I'll share with you about it because offline because it actually is one that involves something very close to home for you, but but it's not even. It was just one of these where it's actually not even all that bad. It's just we don't think. Well, things have moved on, and so we just don't think there's going to even be much of an audience for it. So
relevance for it, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No,
So without further ado, let's
do this.
Let's do this. And this is based on, as we've said, we've had input. We've had input from audience. We've had a lot of input, and a big shout out to Nevena Paunovic, our podcast manager for both podcasts here, because she listens to a lot of podcasts, because she isn't even just podcast manager for your podcast and mine. She does other ones. Yep. So she's basically it's her profession, and she's very well aware.
She's amazing. let's
She
just
is
say,
amazing.
Nevena, you're amazing. You keep this whole podcast together, and the fact that you keep this podcast together and many others is even more amazing.
And ours, yeah, exactly.
You know.
So she's
Ridiculous.
given her input, which we gave a high weighting, I will say, and as we should. And so, without any particular order, let's dive in. So, one of the top 3, certainly, for Lone Star Plate, would have to be the Reginald Ballard episode, right? Have you had him on more than once, or just because I saw a lot of clips? Because
just once.
Well, because it caught my eye because I was looking on your channel on YouTube and I saw the Pony Excess episode, and I was like, as a Southwest Conference football fan, I was like, I got to click on that one, and then I ended up listening to the whole thing because that's this guy's quite amazing. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that episode and what made it so special?
Yeah, I think just for me, and for a lot of people, one, I grew up on watching Martin. So he was on Martin.
Yeah.
He was bro man on Martin.
Yeah.
And that was such an influential show for me growing up in the 90s, in high school. And it was just such a big show. Then he was on the Bernie Mac show. And I knew him more as an actor and a comedian. And then, we're going to do this interview. I actually didn't know that SMU stuff about him, find out he was part of the, SMU scandal that broke in the 80s, that just flipped, college football on its head. I mean, it dissolved the whole conference,
Dissolves the whole conference. The only time a school's ever gotten the death penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's all
yeah.
crazy. It's and speaking of, we've had Dale Hansen on a couple of times, and he talked about that, and he's the one that broke that story.
Did he break that story?
Yeah, he broke that story. He was famous for breaking that story.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I don't know how well you remember, but it even implicated the governor.
Yeah, dude, the podcast the first one we talked about it a little, I think, but this last one he really, gave a lot of behind the scenes stuff about that whole scandal, how it came about, what they were going to do, a bunch of stuff, man. There's so much. That's a great episode.
Oh, I haven't had a chance to listen to that one, so I will.
Talking about that, because I told him we had Reginald on, oh, really?
Yeah.
It was like and Reginald holds no grudges. And another crazy thing about Reginald that made this all stand out on top of all of this was that Reginald got a kidney from his wife, right? Yeah. So this was like just this crazy. when I heard that, it's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard.
But the craziness about that story isn't just that he got that somehow that he lucked out. Not just somehow he lucked out. I believe in providence, right? But he found this wonderful woman to be his wife, and she's a perfect match. But her kidney's not big enough.
It was too small.
Too small. So they do this thing called kidney swapping that I had never heard of.
Swap. Yep.
Yeah. So
the person that was gonna get, that could, the kidney Reginald could get, right? That his wife's kidney went to that person, right? So they just swapped them. It was like the sizing of it all, which is great. It worked out perfectly. And he's been with his wife since high school. That's they've got their own love story, he's just such a great guy, so well respected. And I just thought it was such a great episode, and he's been through so much, and his story of how he got to where he got is amazing. It's truly a story about, the forks in the road that you take really do matter. They can change the trajectory of your life, essentially,
Well, this is probably a good place where we could, play a little clip from that episode.
Absolutely. Let's play a clip from that episode with Reginald Ballard. At the time, you mentioned, about your kidney. I don't know. Do you want to talk about that? We're not live anyway.
Yeah, so, man, whatever. Don't matter.
I don't know. It was kind of so, it just seemed like that was on your mind.
Yeah, well, first of all, man, it's like, I've been knowing my wife, man, since the 8th grade, man. I mean, we both went to
Really?
Yeah. Both went to basketball high school together, man. And
shout out Galveston.
Yep. And so I mean, we couldn't stand each other until the until the 12th grade. You know what I'm saying? For real. And it worked out, but you know, we got married in '87, man, and been married for like 33 years. And, you know, so I needed a kidney, and she was a perfect match. You know, they did all the blood work. They say when you get ready to get a kidney, man, all the tests that they put you through, they say if you pass all those tests, you could be an astronaut, man. I mean, that's just for real. That's what they say, man. Because they put you through blood work, man, all kinds of stuff, man. And so the everything was a match. Matter of fact, they put her blood next to my blood, and it did like that. It came together, didn't, you know, separate. So
wow.
But the only thing was she's smaller than me, so her kidney wouldn't have been, you know, the right size. So what they did was they did a swap, and she gave her kidney to somebody, and they swapped me. I got somebody else's, you know. So
wow.
I
don't know if I ever heard of that.
Matter of fact, the largest swap was in Houston about 2-3 months ago. It was like a 7-person swap.
A 7-person swap?
Yeah, man, kidneys, man, and that was in Houston, and it was on the news out here. So you know, it happens. You know, so people think that you have to have a match.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily. If somebody willing to give up a kidney, you know, y'all could swap with somebody else, and you know, you get their kidney, they get that other kidney. So, you know,
wow. What kind of conversation? How does that conversation go? Right.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I know my doctor said, if you know somebody at your church, you know, that's ready to give a kidney, I say, man, I don't go to church. He say, well, you know, one of your friends.
You may want to start, right?
Yeah, he's like one of your friends. I say, man, my friend's sick like me.
Yeah. Okay. What was your, I don't know if, again, I'm not going to say that that's number one. It just top 3 for me in no particular order.
Exactly, which I hopefully is what I was saying at the, which was
the beginning.
At the beginning, hopefully. But let me just reiterate that that it's there is no top. There's no number one. We haven't.
It's impossible.
You know, it's
no
not like Rolling
one.
Stone deciding between the first and second greatest guitarist of all time or anything like that. We're saying these are some of our top ones, and they're worth revisiting because we've both had great seasons, and in some ways it's a way of giving a good shout out to the guest. You know,
absolutely, and I like an episode that pans out, right? Like it leads to the Dale Hansen episode. It leads to you learning about the SMU and then college football, right? Like it's all this stuff. So okay, let's talk about your first one. Again, not saying it's the number one, but what was the first one you would consider? I saw your list, but I don't know which one you want to. The Tim O'Brien one? Is that?
Well, we actually why don't we start with the Class Action Park, because that's the one that's furthest along ago. Now, I don't know if that one is one of these where, so as you and I discussed previously, you know, there's the ones that are great because whatever, if let's say it's a movie and the movie's great, there's ones where the guests are amazing. Yeah, exactly. And then there are the ones where the impact in terms of people's reaction to the podcast is great. All right. Yeah. So this is one where, and I'm not saying it's number one on our list, but this is one where all 3 came together. Right. Yeah, so you've got, if people haven't seen this film, it's absolutely crazy. This thing it's called Class Action Park. It's a bit of a cult hit in the documentary film world. And in case maybe we should, I don't know, you probably had in the intro, in case your Lone Star Plate listeners don't know, I host a Factual America, and it's a podcast that we interview documentary filmmakers and their subjects every week. And with a focus on U.S. stories. So this was this absolutely crazy place that you wouldn't believe could actually exist, except that it did. And it was a theme park in New Jersey where like people died on a semi-regular basis, right? Now, we're not just talking about the odd. I mean, you have these, and they're tragedies, obviously. But that's the other thing, because you get this guy, one of the guests, and this one has, I think all all mine actually have a Texas connection, not all that tenuous. Seth Porges is not from Texas. He has more New Jersey, New York roots, but he's this science and tech journalist and TV commentator, and he'd kind of grown up, and he had gone to Class Action Park, or it's actually Action Park is what it was called. No one would name a park Class Action. Yeah. Action Park. And he had these stories, and and he had these.
You bring your
stories.
lawyer to the park with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of its nicknames, and you can find he's got these great clips because it has come up. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel is talking to someone else on his show where he's got someone else from New Jersey. He goes, "Do you remember this place called Action Park?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that place was crazy."
They made a movie with Johnny Knoxville. He made a movie with it.
Exactly, and so. Yeah, it was about this crazy guy named Gene Mulvihill. It was like this. He was like straight out of Wall Street. The movie. He was a disgraced, basically fallen Wall Street mogul. And it was his bastard brainchild. Basically, I'm gonna go to western part of New Jersey. I'm gonna open up a theme park, and I'll do things like. I won't have any adults on staff because it costs too much, right? So I get all these teenagers manning everything, and I can pay them nothing. And you know what? I'm going to test some of these rides, and so I'll pay. Seth had this story, and it's in the movie where I'll give you $20 or whatever it was to go down this water slide, enclosed water slide that had a loop in it. And people would come out and they like blood coming down their and they would like, and they found people's teeth stuck into and so you and I are laughing, and I even that was the other thing about the podcast. I laughed. I said, "Look, I'm sorry. I can't believe I'm laughing." And Seth was just like, "No, it's a natural human reaction."
Of course,
a natural human reaction to things. You say, of course, things like this aren't so obvious to me, but it's a natural human reaction when you don't know how to react. What we all do
absolutely.
is just laugh.
It's a nervous sort of laugh.
It's a nervous.
It's like it's so over the top. You sort of laugh at it because it's so over the top ridiculous. And you don't know what to say, so you just sort of laugh like, "Oh my God, this is good." And it's kind of funny though, in some way, right? Like there's a reason Jackass was so popular, these sort of stunts, these sort of weird things that they were doing at this park, that stuff's kind of fun.
And someone mentioned
dying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they do touch on that, but then they also, these rides were absolutely crazy. And then, but then, they have clips, they have archival from like MTV doing, this is, sometime in the 90s saying, doing one of their special summer days and they'd be there. We're here at Action Park and all kinds of stuff, like these rides where you'd be going so fast that like, it was basically a drunk teenager's dream, basically, because, bikinis are flying off because they can't, because they go down too fast. You had, for the adults, they had there was two sides of it. You actually had to cross a major state highway. And I don't think there were any like special crossings or bridges or anything. And on the other side was like
that was the first ride.
Yeah. Well, no, because on the other side was like a go-karting area, and which had a bar attached to it. So, the adults would go there, they drop the kids off, the kids would, no parental supervision, all kinds, you can imagine all the stuff they're getting up to, especially in the 90s. And, stories about people riding off in the people getting drunk and then just riding off the course onto the state highway on the go-karts and things. It's like,
oh man, that's a dream of mine. Right there.
And then we had the guy who did I think he was cinematographer on this, is a guy named Chris Charles Scott III, who's actually went to Baylor, and he's done some award-winning films on. He's actually the director, and he did a film on about Waco, of all things. Can you imagine doing a film about Waco?
The Branch Davidian? Is that what you mean?
No. Oh, I do have a story about the Branch Davidians I'll share with you one time.
You mean just the city of Waco?
Just the city of Waco.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, that's a history. I'm sure it has to be in the film. I mean, that's such a big part of
You
Waco
say
history.
interesting in the southern way, meaning, yeah, well, whatever. That sounds extremely boring.
It's like here, it's we've heard about it so many times.
Yeah.
Here, but that's all. I mean, still to this day, right? Anybody mentions Waco, that's the first thing.
Oh yeah, the Branch Davidian
even here.
side. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
That's what I mean.
One I did a
that's cool.
basically. Yeah. No, I'll tell you one sometime about my extremist right wing trip I did one time that involved the Branch. Well, it's not that big a story, but anyway.
It's not really fair to ask the question, what was Action Park? Basic level, you can say it was a water slide park. But in truth, it was so much more than a water slide park.
Action Park was the chaos summer park with very little oversight, too much alcohol, whistles blowing, people screaming, motors running. It was an energy, you knew you were jumping into the fire pit.
The most dangerous theme park of all time. There was a water slide that held one person that went in a flip. It looked like a bunch of kids built it because that's what it was.
We'll be back with more Headbangers Ball coming from Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey, the biggest water park in the world.
I think the very reason people were attracted to Action Park was because they could get hurt. That was the allure of it. I mean, who wants to sit on a Ferris wheel?
It was a place where death was tolerated, where death was put right into the number situation.
Every member of my family was injured in that park at some time or another. They called it Traction Park. That
Class
was
Action Park?
Class Action Park, the lawyers called it.
It starts out with people having fun, and by the end, crimes have been committed, cover-ups have happened. The story hasn't been told truthfully. To me, that's probably the worst thing of all.
Okay, so next, let's go back to one of yours on your list.
Oh, man.
So, what do we got? We got... Oh, now I love this one.
Which one?
Catherine?
Which one? No. Yeah, totally. Exactly. Catherine
Hardwicke.
Director.
Wow.
Catherine Hardwicke. And I'm not sure... I can't remember... Oh, I think she had a show on Quibi. Okay, so remember that platform that came out that was like short stuff? You had to watch it on your phone or iPad or something only, right? You couldn't watch it on TV. She had a show on that, but they canceled Quibi or whatever, but the shows still came out or whatever, so she came on to sort of talk about that. But to be honest with you, we ended up talking about her whole long career, and she was the director of Lords of Dogtown. We talked about that a lot, and her directing Heath Ledger. She just was the most still to this day, one of the most fascinating people I've spoken to on the podcast. She didn't sit down. I think she's the only podcast guest I've ever had that stood up the entire time. Okay, she just was like a ball of energy, just like took over the screen. She knew it was on. Like she just knew it was like, we're doing this. I'm going to tell you some cool stuff. This is great for the audience. And she did, man. She did not disappoint.
Now, is she from Texas originally?
Yeah, she's from Texas, man. She's from
Texas. Because I could tell. I mean, she's been, I guess, because she was she's in California these days, I would imagine.
Yeah, she's in California, but she got started with like Richard Linklater, right? Like,
all right, yeah,
another famous director from Texas here. But before she became a director, and I didn't really get a chance to talk to her about this stuff, she was a production designer.
Yeah,
on some of the biggest movies, you have Vanilla Sky. Okay, like what are we talking about here? When I brought it up.
Didn't she do Three Kings?
Dude, yes, I tried. I wanted to. I could have talked to her, but I could have done a whole episode about Three Kings. That's one of my favorite movies. I love that film. She did The Newton Boys. Speaking of, Antitrust, Suburbia, Tank Girl, Tombstone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you waxed on and on about Tombstone. And
oh my God, come on! Tombstone is like one of the most quotable movies ever, at least for my, me and my friends and everyone I know that like, I'll be your Huckleberry. Come on, that's just like, and that movie looks so great because I remember that other Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp movie came out around the same time.
Right,
and it was
they're
like
competing. OK Corral movies.
Yeah, it was like a 6-hour epic about a 15-second fight, right? It was like, okay, this is ridiculous. No, the Tombstone was just grittier, and yeah, she just done so many amazing movies, and you know, to have her on was just amazing. She did the first Twilight movie. She started the whole Twilight. You know, I mean, that whole young adult led to the Hunger Games, right? Like all these movies, she started all that. How crazy is that? Like to think that she was, and just to hear her, you know, reasoning and everything behind how she cast. I mean, she essentially helped launch Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart from Twilight. I mean, you know, in that sense. Yeah, she was just really cool. It was such a great episode. I still think about it.
And don't you find, I mean, because we've had a lot of these types of guests on, these people who are, well, they're certainly famous in their field. There may not be household names, but, you know, maybe she should be, I would argue. But they are the most, I find them such easy people to talk to. They're such delightful guests, you know, because, and it comes across in that one with Catherine. I mean, they're not full of themselves. They've yet, you know, they could easily just go on and trumpet all the amazing things they've done. But I think they're quite usually quite kind of humble, really. It's but no, I've seen. I have to say, I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I watched a lot of the clips from that one, and that was.
I'm all about the clips, man. I watch a ton of podcasts like that. Really, I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people listen to podcasts that way.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it. I mean, yeah, I think there's different ways.
You know, you may.
Well, you're the one that told me you kind of have them on like a ball game in the background, basically.
Yes,
you got them on all the time.
A lot.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do that a lot, dude. It's hard to keep up with these. They're long form conversations. Like, who has the time to listen to like 10 3-hour conversations a week? You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of impossible. So clips really help you just sort of keep up with what. And then if maybe you like some of the clip, you know, I'm gonna listen to the whole thing or something. You know. It just helps digest it a little bit better if you can't catch up with
well, then I think that's I think then speaking of clips, we need to have one on with Catherine there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And there's a very fun story of how I found Kristen Stewart. Should I tell you that?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Because they're both phenomenal actors, right? Just look at them now.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You picked, I mean, yeah.
So and of course they were before that too, but the thing that was cool is it goes back to Lords of Dogtown. So I had a screening of Lords of Dogtown for Sean Penn, okay, because he was interested in the skating because he narrated the doc. And so the studio, Sony let me go up there and show Sean and his kid, who was a skater, show them the movie. And at the end of the movie, Sean goes, I got it. You know, Heath Ledger was amazing, but who is that kid? Let's call
Emil.
Emil.
Was it Emil Hirsch? Yeah.
So we called Emil on my phone. I go, Emil, somebody wants to talk to you. Boom, Sean Penn. And he loved Emil and cast him in Into the Wild, right? And
that's how he got cast Into the Wild? Oh,
Into the Wild. And so then it's even better. So then they invited me to an early screening of Into the Wild, like a rough cut. I see Kristen Stewart sitting there in the trailer, like trying to, you know, get together, trying to hook up with Emil. And I love that girl. Who is she? I cast her in Twilight, you know, you know, it was kind of cool.
Wow, that is amazing. Wow, that is so crazy. So that for you, when you saw her in that scene or whatever, or that part of the film, you thought, this is it. This is who I need.
She had this longing, this sense of longing for him, and that was just palpable. And I thought that's what I felt when I read the book, and that this girl, Bella, is just like so drawn to this guy. And it's kind of what everybody feels. Your first crush, you know, you're just like, I cannot live with, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Every breath that person takes, every move they make, you know, so you know, it was so like over the top in a way, you know, this like longing. I'm like, I want to see if I can really feel that on screen, you know, if I can make people feel that in the theater, like, oh, first love, crazy.
Wow.
And I think it worked because people have seen that movie like
Yeah, it definitely worked. Yeah.
and yeah.
So, yes. Catherine,
all right.
Okay, your second one here. Factual America, doing amazing episodes. You know,
I think this
great
a
film?
nice segue, actually, is speaking of Catherine Hardwicke, someone who's probably of about the same era, probably even knows her, I wouldn't be surprised, is the guest we had on talking about a documentary she made, which is about about Horton Foote, the celebrated Texas playwright. So we had, I don't know, you haven't had Anne Rapp on your podcast, have you? Because she's Austin-based. You could, you might think about it.
Absolutely.
She
so
was,
many people. It's like, it's just
yeah, well, she's, so in case people don't know, I mean, she's, well, Anne is basically, she's what they call a script supervisor, was how she made her name. And then she also became a screenwriter. So she was a script supervisor, and this is all very Texas heavy, but that's why I love it. She was the script supervisor on the film. Her first job, actually, was on Tender Mercies, which is this Robert Duvall film about a...
Oh, yeah.
That was in the early 80s, right? And I remember... Now, we've moved on, but I remember at one point thinking, when I saw it, that that's like the most quintessential Texas movie ever. And it's all filmed, speaking of Waco, it's filmed between Austin and Waco in that kind of area. And so that's how she met Horton Foote, because Horton Foote was the screenwriter for that film. And then she also did script supervisor and scripts for Robert Altman. So she's done over 40-something films. She's been nominated for lots of awards. And so she got to know Horton Foote, and she basically did a documentary about the last 3 years of his life. And you'd think, well, okay, a documentary about an aging, celebrated, well, actually probably the best playwright that most people haven't heard of. And she got the Audience Award at the Austin Film Festival. And she's never made a film before. And you come across these people in the line of work I do who have this, they may only make one documentary or film in their life.
They spend years working on it.
But they spend, and it's their passion project.
Totally.
And she's done it, and it is a lovely piece of filmmaking. And
it's because they take more time editing it than maybe a documentary film that makes a lot of them. And the editing is where it's at. That's where a film comes together.
I completely
agree. The more turns you take on trimming the fat, just to give it a food analogy, right? Like you just keep trimming and get it like perfect. And the more time you take to invest in that, the better product, you're going to have. And sometimes that's rushed with other filmmaker with it. But like you said, they take so much time with it. It's just natural that if they do it right, it's going to come out like amazing, Yeah, that's awesome.
And she did things. It wasn't one of these just sort of talking head type documentaries where there is some
interview
of that,
after interview
or anything. But I mean, she's observing Horton Foote, but then she actually did a casting call and got some actors, all from the Austin, San Antonio area, to come in and act portions of Horton's plays. And she even uncovered some people who'd never even done anything professionally, right? And they did this amazing job doing this, and she interweaves them with the film, and then so like I said, this kind of combination of things. She she was just a delightful person to talk to. She's from some town up in West Texas where you only have maybe 2,000 people in the entire town. So she had stories about, she got to know she knows Robert Duvall quite well. She had that was, if you think about like great stories, she was saying that Robert Duvall's probably, she, again, wasn't going to single anyone out particularly at the risk of insulting someone else, but she was saying Robert Duvall is got to be one of the best actors she's ever seen. Because as a script supervisor, so what she does, well, she is, but she says as a script supervisor, so what does a script supervisor do? She makes sure, because they'll film one part of the scene and then 3 weeks later film the rest of it, and she has to make sure that the coffee cup's still in the same place. Yeah, all the continuity, right. So she says, I mean, with Duvall, you don't ever have to worry about that, and he can do almost everything gets done in a single take, and he's already planned everything out, and he's, it's just like magic watching this guy, where you get like a lot of your younger actors and they will just kind of cut. So no, you first take you did it in this hand, the second take you had it in that hand, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Those little those little whatever the kind of things that people are looking for in film sometimes. But so it was just a lovely interview. Very, I don't even think her film's been released in terms of festivals. I don't even think it's gotten a commercial release yet. But she had stories about storytelling and how it's so unique. We've had a few guests who've done this, who are of Texas roots, who talk about Texas storytelling and how it's so unique to Texas.
Texas is its own thing, right? It's its own, yeah.
But that you actually have families it almost sounds, well, that not a Texas reference, but almost sounds like the Waltons or something. Like people are sitting around telling stories to each other. But the thing is, people, at least when I was growing up, people are, and I'm hearing people still are. It's maybe in a little bit different way, but Texans enjoy a good yarn,
Yes, of course. Are you kidding? It's all about that. That's
all. I mean, that's more important than reality.
Yeah,
many times.
Yeah, it's all about saying talking about the past and talking about things that have happened and things that have done. You remember that when this happened, and it's really the same things over and over again, right? Like someone will forget they told you the story 7 times already, about the tornado they were in back in.
There's always a tornado in the stories.
There's a hurricane, a tornado story, something.
Yeah, the only nightmares I ever have had have been about tornadoes.
Dude, they're scary. I get it. They're scary.
Yeah, they scare the hell out of me. But we discussed that, and talking about working with Robert Altman, and it's just a delightful episode. And it was also about the craft of storytelling and what makes a good story as a script writer. And
that's awesome. And that's what you want to hear on your podcast, right? Because that's what it's all about, through storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, she was, she's, exactly. And she's, again, one of these very, kind of reminded me a bit of Catherine Hardwicke in that way. I mean, she wasn't standing up, but
just passionate.
I think, she's passionate and, but yet very humble, and she's lived so far and still will be for many years to come, I'm sure, this incredible life while
That's awesome.
flying underneath the radar screen.
Look at this big Texas sky, Horton.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been one reason why your plays have so much space in them?
My plays come out of a lot of meditation. I do not know where they come from, but they're very persuasive when they start going in me. They make demands.
There's a letter just now waiting for me at home from this girl in College Station. She's having a baby. She wrote me she thought I was the father. I could be.
Horton, I think, is way up there in the pantheon of American playwrights. Way, way up there.
Anything of Horton I like doing. It's the kind of thing you can't force his material as an actor. You can't push it because it's very kind of delicate.
I'd like to express my gratitude to the cast and crew of Tender Mercies.
He worked in theater, he worked in film, and he worked in television. So everybody sort of sees part of his career, but they don't see the whole thing.
The winner is Horton Foote for To Kill a Mockingbird.
Sure. That's awesome.
All right. What about we've coming now? As we say, we'll probably have some honorable mentions, but there's the third of the top three, not necessarily in that order, as we've said before. I don't know how best way to introduce this one. Restaurant Labor with Chef Ji Kang. Is that right?
That's close. Chef Ji Kang. I mean,
Kang.
maybe it is Kang. Maybe he would say, oh, that's actually closer, Patrick. I don't know, but he always just goes by Ji Kang. Chef is what I call him. Yeah, I work with Chef Chi for a long time. I got a long history with him. But this episode in particular about restaurant labor, having him on, has just... The episode was great, but it's one of these things, the impact that it had, because it keeps coming up over and over and over that episode. And I keep seeing comments on YouTube that, with it, that just keep adding to it and adding to it. And it really just... It touched the core of what the podcast is about, food and Texas and this industry that I'm from. We do try to talk about that sometimes. And, it was just great to have him on and really just put to rest some myths that I think people have about the restaurant industry right now during the pandemic and why people don't want to go back to work, right? It's you just keep hearing in the news, well, it's just unemployment. We got to get rid of unemployment. That's why people aren't going back to work. Nobody wanted to face the true fact of why people weren't going back to work at restaurants. They didn't want to admit it, and they still don't. There's still a lot of restaurant owners, or whatever.
Well, clue us in. What are some of the myths?
Well, some of the highlights,
some myths.
And some of the myths that we busted in that episode were like, it's not that. It's more just the culture. It's the pay. It's the benefits you don't get of working at a restaurant. You get, pardon my language, but shit on, and then, you work these hard hours, long hours. You sacrifice a lot. You make very little, and that's nobody wanted to talk about that, right? Like, so people just moved on and got better jobs that paid more, that they didn't have to come home completely drained physically and mentally. Working indoors, AC, sitting down at a desk, maybe they're like, dude, this is way better. And I get benefits. Like, restaurants didn't want to admit that, right? And they thought, well, it's just changing restaurants in a good way. So the people that have accepted what it truly is about are the ones that you're seeing successful. They're realizing, I got to treat people with respect here at the restaurant. It's not just about, coming to work as well. I got to treat them with respect, treat them like family. Try to pay them a little bit more, try to do more things for them, right, to keep them around. That's the real reason of people not going back to work. Yes, are some people in unemployment? That's always that's in any industry. I'm sure there were a few people that was the deal, but no, for the most part, man, and you've still seeing the signs up even after Texas stopped unemployment already a while back. So you're still seeing the same problem, right? It wasn't like an influx of people and everyone was back to normal. So yeah, it just had such an impact this episode.
So it's still the case that, like, I know there's different roles in a restaurant, but if you're wait staff, you get below minimum wage and you have to make all your money off of tips. Isn't that right? Is that still the case?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So because what people, I always, living over here in the UK and overseas, you always hear, well, God, I can't believe you go to the United States and everyone tips so much. Why do you tip so heavily? And it's just ridiculous. And you have to explain to them that actually, because here people get at least a minimum wage. You can't pay anyone less than minimum wage, even if they're wait staff, and probably get paid a little more. I don't know. I'm not sure the latest, but on that. But, it is a very, it's a hard job. And think about it. If you get that one table that, doesn't tip you or leaves you a really low tip. I mean, you've basically worked for, you haven't earned anything for an hour, and that's, it's
absolutely. You got to pay out too. I think a lot of, restaurants are broken down into front of house and back of the house. So there's a big difference there too. So like talking about what servers make, they're not the one that's hardest hit by this as like kitchen staff. The biggest thing it's affecting is kitchen staff, because kitchen staff don't make tips generally. You get a set hourly and that's it. And that's also a big problem in the industry that people want changed. That tip should go to part of the kitchen staff. And it should, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what are you say the successful restaurants are learning the lessons and it's got to be. Is it more than just treating your staff better? I mean, what are they doing to?
That's it. That's it. That's a big.
But when you
like
say
a
treat your
major-
staff better, I mean, are they paying them more,
Respect.
or are they?
Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like
Yeah.
sometimes somebody will work for you just because you treat them right. You don't treat them like
Yeah,
shit.
well,
You treat them
that's
like
true.
a friend when they come in. And
Yeah.
several cooks, right, will be like, look, I work for you because it's fun to come to work. We make good food. I'm proud of what I do, right? You create an
Yeah.
environment that they're also proud. Now, yes, you do try to match that money, but sometimes you could get away with the $2 discrepancy, let's say, per hour because you've done these other things that don't cost money. They're just treating people as human beings. And that's just a big thing in American kitchen culture and restaurant, that it's not like that. It's a very cutthroat sort of, environment.
Well, and am I right? I mean, my brother, I've never waited tables, but my brother did in a pretty well, had a very good reputation restaurant in San Antonio. But it was his insight, and I've heard this from others, that there's a lot of mismanaged restaurants out there, and this,
have you seen Hell's Kitchen? I mean, not Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares,
Yeah.
right? Like Bar Rescue. Like, yes, there are some absolute more places are mismanaged than managed correctly.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
Yeah,
that is the truth.
All right. Well, what else? I mean, anything else?
Yeah.
Any other myth busters or big?
I mean, that was just a big thing. It's just a good episode worth checking out because I think it applies to more industries than just the restaurant industry. Right? I think.
Well, that's true. It is about
just that myth that unemployment is what's keeping people from going back to work, and that's not the case.
Well, Richard Branson, the British billionaire or whatever, he's always said, people are your most important resource, and you get that right,
100%.
and everything else falls into piece, falls into place.
Takes care of itself. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. It's the same way you run a restaurant.
Well,
yeah,
we'll start we'll get a clip in there as well. So
yeah,
people
let's do a
can,
clip from G here, just sort of maybe breaking that down or something real quick of that particular episode. Yes, so check it out.
This is going to be the difference between whether or not a restaurant, can keep their staff, It is going to be the culture, Because I have this prime example, All right? I had a cook, who was working at a different restaurant, offered $25 an hour, plus overtime, all this stuff, probably benefits and everything, yada, 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 right? And then he comes to me, obviously going to make way less. I mean, I'm not going to pay $25 an hour. Like, you're going to make more than me? Are you kidding me? Like, no, I'm not going to pay you that. But that person is happily still working for me.
Wow.
And it's because of culture, right?
Wow.
Like, he knows he's going to be treated like a dog over there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have respect for him
I got
over
you.
here and treat him not just like an employee, but as a friend, family.
Sure. Wow.
You know?
Wow.
Like that is literally the only difference that any restaurant could set themselves apart at in this competitive atmosphere right now.
Wow.
You know?
I hope people are listening.
No,
out
that
there.
is
for sure.
For sure the only thing.
All right, let's talk about
All
your
right.
last one, which is actually somebody we've had on our podcast too, which I almost mentioned in our top episodes here as well. So I'm excited to talk about him.
Yeah, I am too, and actually it links to the last one because the whole reason we got in touch with with Tim O'Brien, who many will tell you is maybe the best American author of his generation, is that we had Anne Rapp from the Horton Foote documentary on, and then she was very magnanimous, and she said, you might want to reach out to this fellow named Aaron Matthews. He's doing a documentary on Tim O'Brien. And so we did, and he said, yeah, we'd love to come on. And I said, he said, I'd love to come on. I said, well, we'd love to have you. And any chance Tim might want to get on? And he reached out to him, and Tim said he would. Yeah. It's I think it's another proof that you can't judge your best episodes purely on likes and watches and listens and things like that, because it's not been one of our biggest episodes in that regard. But you've interviewed him. To have him on it was just such an honor. And what this guy and how he bears his soul to audiences is absolutely amazing. And as much as he's this sort of stern, in some ways, curmudgeonly, grandfatherly type person but who was actually a relatively new dad. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I tell you, I don't know if you had this happen, but I did ask. We've got talking about some subjects about Vietnam and other things, and I swear he was. I thought he started tearing up, and I was like. I was like, oh my God, I made Tim O'Brien cry. But, but I think it happens anyway. I think he's, and it's not because he's some weak-willed man. He's exact opposite, isn't he? I mean, he is this very strong person who has a lot to say. And, I think he's been through a lot. He's written a lot. He's been a celebrated author for many decades now.
Yeah.
And then to leave this, he has said that every book he writes is his last book. And so I asked him if
that's
the dad's maybe book.
That's how you market. That's a perfect marketing.
Well, I don't think he's thinking of it that way. I think you've seen the doc. I mean, he will spend days just working on a couple of 100 words, right?
Sure.
So
that would be me. I think that's why I liked him so much. If I was a writer, I would be him. Still smoking, drinking, doing his thing. That's me.
Lots of
that's
cussing.
essentially, that's me. I mean, that's why I like the guy so much. He was just a real person. He is a real person. Right? Like he's a real person.
And he lives in some, you've seen the film. I mean, he's just in some suburb there in Austin. He's not like living in some grand house, Dude,
he's like my neighbor that I shoot the shit with all the time, right? At the garbage, right? When you're taking out the garbage, you get stuck at a 30-minute conversation by the mailbox, right?
Exactly.
About what he's that guy, and you're just amazed by, I absolutely loved him, man. Just as a person, right? And that made the podcast so much more special, and really seeing yours and then doing ours with him, like fundamentally the differences even there too. He's just such a cool guy. Really
he is,
and
he must get asked to be on all kinds of things, and he said yes to us, and he was.
You paved the way for that for us.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but in that film too, there's some scenes that are absolutely hilarious in there. He's hilarious.
He is. The guy is hilarious.
He's trying to.
He's holding back too, right? Like that's
exactly.
Part.
He is He is holding back.
Right. If he was unleashed,
I think what we need to do, we need to do an episode we need to get Tim O'Brien back on, and do an episode where, we just basically unleash him. Let him,
Totally.
You can cuss as much as you want. You can smoke as much as you want. You don't have to, I think he didn't smoke on ours, and I got the feeling he kind of was.
I think he might have had a cigarette on ours. I would have smoked with him to make it comfortable.
Yeah,
Not
he
that
was
I smoke a lot of cigarettes, but I would have.
He was jonesing for a cigarette, and he kind of, by the end of ours, but he is one. Exactly.
I have a friend that reminds me of him, just like him, honestly. But they have different careers, right? He's not an author, but he's a Texas guy. Like he reminds me of Tim O'Brien, like exactly. Like, yeah, he's a chain smoker for sure.
Yeah, but he's he's originally from Minnesota and then lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, I think, for many years. But he's an honorary Texan by any stretch of the imagination, because he fits in so well. And the film's The War and Peace of Tim O'Brien, which I highly recommend. And I think we'll both play shortly here, you even play a clip from your own if you want. We'll play a clip certainly from ours.
No, we'll play your clip.
know.
I mean, I guess we'll just tell people to check out ours too. But yeah, definitely a clip.
Yeah, no, I think he's incredible life, incredible person, has so much to say. And I feel bad for him, but he will always have something to say because as human beings, we still like to go to war for whatever reason. And, these wars keep happening and people like him keep saying things about it, but it doesn't seem to, I don't know, I think he shrugs his shoulders a little bit about the whole thing now, and now he's written this book. I mean, that's the thing. Imagine being able to write a book for your sons, for them to then read later in life, because they're at a stage in their lives where they really don't care too much about what dad has to say. It's only natural. We all did it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we did.
It doesn't
when we
matter
were
who
teenagers.
your dad is, right? It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
If your dad's president, you still just like, oh God, I kind of want to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
No,
so yeah, that
definitely
was
a good
that was
episode.
one
And,
of ours.
Oh, shout out to Aaron Matthews, director, who
For
won
the
an
Oscar.
Yep.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar, not for that film, but for a short documentary film that he worked on as well. Colette.
Yeah, I gave him. It was great. I gave him a shout. I sent him an email the day after the Oscars, and he was very quite amazing. Yeah, he was the producer on that.
He brought it up on our podcast. He brought it up that he had gotten nominated. So he sort of mentioned it there, and actually Tim got excited because he thought it was their film at first. Like right off the bat when he said it, right? I guess he hadn't told Tim, so like he revealed it even to Tim. Tim didn't even know, and Tim was like, "Oh, our film got nominated for an." You can see it in our episode. It's kind of a funny moment, actually. And Aaron's like, whoa, wait. It's not our film.
No.
Like,
It's not our film. It's the one I've really been working hard on.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and I say that, and obviously, Aaron, if he ever watches this, and I doubt he will, but if he is, he'll know I'm joking, because what Aaron had to go through to get that Tim O'Brien film done, and basically camped out and lived.
Yeah, you're just just sitting with them.
Tim O'Brien for 2 years.
Yeah. Smoke break after smoke break. That's what they should have called that film. Smoke break. It should have just been called Smoke Break, because I guarantee you, I don't even know, but I guarantee you that's what was happening half the time. Smoke break, which is cool. So great episodes.
You completely opened up and you started writing all these books. And,
well, I only open up really with Aaron on the film. I don't talk about Vietnam much. Kind of like your dad. You don't go to a cocktail party and say, "Hey, do you want to hear about the war?" Of course they don't. So you don't. But I got so comfortable being around Aaron. He lived with us for a couple of weeks at a time or a week at a time. Became kind of a member of the family. So it wasn't like talking to a stranger.
Nice. Do you think that helped? That helped having Aaron just stay there and get some time eating some meals with them, right? That sort of deal.
More than some.
Yeah.
A lot. If he's there for 2 weeks, 14 times 3, what the hell is that? Like 42 or something like that. It's a lot. So no, we became really close friends in the course of 5 years of doing this.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was awkward then, having him in your house with a camera just fixated on you while you.
It was awkward at first. Yeah. I mean, at first you're conscious of the camera. Sure. I guess I was always conscious of the camera, but I just was able to ignore it, after you've done it a while. Just trusting that Aaron will take out anything that's completely embarrassing. He did leave in my bowling, where I wasn't able to actually hit a single pin. But aside from that,
he's actually quite a good bowler. He was having a rough day, though.
I was having a bad day.
So what are some of your top memories out there besides these?
I think I wanted to just,
talked about.
This really, I think I was trying to think of top memory of this, and really what I wanted to talk about more than anything was two things. One, I wanted to say thank you such a big thank you to everyone who works on these podcasts and the work they do behind the scenes, because I just think that so many people, we're the faces of the podcast, and people still think that I'm the only one that does that works on. They're like, oh, your podcast, like that. I'm the only one that does, and there's so many people behind, that do so much work to make this happen, for us to have these good episodes, for me to have my, relaxed, cool conversations with people. There's a lot of work that gets done that I don't do that makes that happen. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, so that people know that are listening or watching, that is the case. I couldn't do what I do without them. And just thank you to everyone. Too many names. I think we're gonna do something in our episode where they get to do some shout outs and stuff. So I'm glad that they'll get a little, spotlight on them as well. And the second thing, really, I just wanted to, more than memories, is just what I learned, and what a lot of us learned on how to run a podcast through this. I think when you listen to a podcast, you don't know the journey that the people behind the production are going through to get through, right? And I just think this season we really learned a lot. We really came together, and I'm so excited for the new season that's about to come up. I just think we're bringing a lot of different things we've learned over, whether it be technical stuff, we're upping the show's quality, just production wise, interview styles, the content, where to take these conversations and blah, blah, blah. Building those relationships with the guest and, repeat guests. I just start to see these things happening with the podcast as a whole through this season. And it's been awesome, which has led us to my big, I want to make a big announcement here, which we'll talk about more, but down the road, I'll give more details, but we're having our first live event, right, in person, where people will be able to, see us do a podcast on a stage at a comedy club there in Austin called The Creek in the Cave, September 15th. We're going to have a big name comedian come out and, do a set, and I'm going to interview him on stage, and we're going to eat, and it's bringing food and comedy together. I'm just excited for the different routes, we're taking for the podcast, and, bringing it all together. Yeah. I'm so excited for that. So,
wow,
yeah.
September 15th. Maybe I can, things are opening up. They just announced that, flights have been existing, but there's going to be a lot more flights now because they've removed the restrictions on Americans coming here to the UK. So I have held off flying back because it was just going to be such a pain and be so expensive. But
they should have restrictions for Americans traveling anywhere.
I don't know about
Americans can be some of the worst tourists. I'm an American. I get it. We just don't know. Americans live in this bubble, and then they take America with them. That's the problem with Americans. They take America with them.
But I can tell you, yes, but as someone who lives over here, I can also tell you, if you were to go to some hotels and ask them who would be your least favorite nationality to have on board, they would not say Americans.
Well, Americans tip. So you always like a tipper.
There's that, and there's...
They're probably nice. Maybe they're nice generally, especially if they're from Texas, right?
Exactly.
We're always nice when we travel.
I mean, what I guess you get is sometimes you do get the ugly American. And so,
of course it happens. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah. You get... but anyway. Well, no, that sounds great. I mean, I think we've... I would just second what you've said. I mean, we've got this amazing crew that puts this together. If it was down to me, this would never get off the ground. Obviously, all I do is I rock up, I watch a film, I spend a little bit of time thinking about it, and I talk to a guest, and that's it. That's the extent of my bit of this, and it all goes down to many other people who make sure that things happen, and we will be giving them a shout out, more than a shout out at the end of all this, and to say that it's just been technically it's our second, technically your third, but it's our second year, I guess, full year as podcasts, and it's just been amazing. If you look back, you said we're talking about how we don't listen to old episodes. Maybe I will go take episode 1 and dust it off and see what it was like, because you think about where we've come since then, or gone from since then. I mean, we've got
night and day.
Yeah, and
for
the
us,
people were
right,
getting
yeah.
on, and it's not just the big names. I mean, yeah, sure, we've had R.J. Cutler on twice. We actually got Alex Gibney, which
that's huge.
You know, I mean, well, I remember in the early days tweeting something from one of our first episodes because I knew his Twitter account, and just like spending an hour just trying to write this tweet, just get it just right, so he would, and but never thought, lo and behold, he would ever be on the show, and we got him on this year. We've had Sam Pollard, who is this great African-American director who's on the board of the Academy that decides the best documentaries. That was a great that was another, that was almost on my list. That in some ways should be on my list just because we filmed it on January 5th, right?
Oh my God.
And at the end, so we're at the very end. Or was it the 6th? I think it was definitely on the 5th. It was before the 6th happened, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And the storming of the Capitol. And we're talking about Trump and and he's just we're being kind of old middle-aged men, just talking about things, and he goes, I don't, what do you think? And I was like, I don't know. I think he'll go, but he's not going to go quietly. And I was like, no, you're probably right. He's not going to go quietly. And we had and then I get home, and sure enough, I can't remember, it was that evening. Yeah. It's just like, oh my God.
You see all the images on the news, right? Like
just
the flags, the people.
Boy, Sam was,
like, oh man.
Sam had it spot on. But, and then we've also have these great up and coming filmmakers, people that, no one's really heard of now, but I'm sure in 5-10 years they'll be practically household names. So we have all these up and coming filmmakers coming on, and we've had so many great stories. We've had we had the director of the Chuck Berry one who he told us all of, this guy is so connected in the rock world. He had all these great stories, even about the making of, I don't know if you know Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, but he knew the story behind that and some of these other great songs. And then the cameraman, Good Old Girl's a film that was at, I don't know if you've ever had the director there, but the one of the filmmakers on that film was actually the cameraman on the Trump Axios interview.
We did it. I did interview them, and we still haven't released the interview because the film's not out yet or something like that. I don't know. Nevin is working on that, but I talked to him about that too, actually. That was.
Well, you got to release it now.
That's a great episode, actually. That I want. That's actually the only episode we have that we haven't released that we want to release. We have other episodes that they'll never see the light of day. One I secretly distribute underground. Did you know that? There's a secret Lone Star Plate podcast episode that gets distributed underground. Only if you message me and you know the person's name to ask for specifically, I will send you a private MP3 of that unreleased episode.
Wow.
I just said that out loud.
There
but
you go.
That's the truth. That's the truth. That's anyway.
Okay. All right. I think. No. I'm sorry. I'm thinking because you see, just for transparency,
it's cool. I love it. I kind of like it.
No, I've just got a message that's come across the screen. Of course, Anyway, I don't need to go into detail, old man stuff, but my reading glasses don't quite work at that distance. But basically, we will, if we go over 2 hours, we're going to have to worry. We're not going to go over 2 hours. Let's put it that way.
No. We're almost done here. I mean, we're done.
We're almost done.
Much, right?
I think we're done. Congratulations on a great season 3 for you. And I think it's been, it's been great for us. It's been great for us to have you. This is your second appearance on Factual America, and I know our listeners enjoy having you on. And
I hope so.
Yeah, we will. I hope you have a great summer, and then I ask everyone to stay on and listen to or watch all the little bit of all the shout outs we have at the end, because we would like to do all these people justice. And it's the bare minimum we can do in order to show our appreciation.
100%. I wanted to give him a whole podcast episode. Really, I did. I was like, let's all get together and just have this big party as a podcast episode. Just because, again, there's so many people that make the graphics and the posting and the social media and the this and the, and there's people that listen to every episode, right, and make notes and like, they're the true heroes. Let me tell you something. Yeah, they're the real heroes of these podcasts. Like, for real. But I'd like to reiterate what you said too.
Yeah, I mean, I get these messages at 56:03. You said, it sounds like you said this, but is that what you actually said? I have no clue what I actually said. You know.
That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. They're the real ones that are going through. I mean, by God, people got to listen to and transcript what I say. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to everyone that has to listen to my voice repeatedly on that.
Well, I mean, I see the transcripts, and you know, and I will never make fun of George W. Bush again. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God, absolutely.
For speaking abilities, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you said, did you have any bloopers or anything that were like?
Yes, yeah. So look, I wanted to say, well, one, congratulations to you as well. You know, you're crushing it, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited for the new season, and you know, can't wait to see what more you guys do. And big shout out to Sebastian Sauerborn, who
we both
is the
need
main,
to do that.
right? Yeah, I mean, main person that makes all this happen. Without Sebastian, none of this would happen. He's such a great person to work for. I've said it on other podcasts that I've been on as a guest when I talk about the podcast, because just working with him creatively has just been such a pleasure. And, you know, the working relationship is absolutely amazing. One of the best I've ever had. And there's just so much more to do and to go. And I'm so excited. So big shout out to Sebastian, you know, for making all this happen. And, you know, big creative mind behind a lot of, you know, the decisions we make and the things we do. So, but I did have one flub that I made that I just thought was perfect, sort of apropos for you know, the situation, and we'll play a clip of it. But it's right at the beginning of an episode. I was talking to this director and actor duo. They're brothers, and they released this movie with George Lopez, Andy McDowell. You know, it was like this border film about, you know, Mexico and Texas border and cowboys, and right at the beginning, how when my coffee's like this, okay. These big coffees, right? And I start to tell this horrible story, and I regret it so much, about this encounter I had with a homeless person. And God struck me down and immediately spilled my coffee. I'm talking everywhere, all over the table in the middle of this interview. And I had to like get Bounty paper towels, like run on. I mean, it was horrific. Like, I'll never forget that. Like, so please play a clip of that. It's right at the beginning of the episode. I'm pretty sure we used that at the beginning of that episode too, that clip. I just totally made a fool of myself. I'll never forget it. And it actually broke the wall, because I must have spilled my coffee a few more times throughout the episodes because of it.
So basically, you're what you're telling me is you're bucking for a sponsorship deal with Bounty paper towels.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, it's product placement, isn't it?
And coffee. Okay, guys.
And coffee.
And
is it your Lily or whatever?
We should get a coffee sponsor, because I drink so much coffee on the podcast. Like, we should have a Texas roaster coffee. You know.
Yeah, you
should.
should.
An idea there, Matt.
You should.
That's a great
there you
idea.
go. There you go.
I was buying a ticket at the DART, which is the for people. I mean, people know the train system here, right? Buying a ticket to get on the DART, and I had my mask down because I was talking to my buddy and whatever. It's down, and this homeless guy walks by and goes, "Oh shit! I just spilled my coffee. Did y'all see that? Oh my God!" Anyway, the guy goes, "Listen, you know, you should have your mask on right now. It's not helping anybody." I was like, "God damn, okay, like really? People are people are serious about it here. Hang on, guys, I have to grab like a quicker picker upper here. 2 seconds."
I'm glad to hear that. It's much nicer than the homeless advice that I've gotten over the years. Various times.
Yeah, listen, this guy was like all about it, you know, protecting. I think he's just protecting people on the platform. That's what I assume.
For sure. Yeah. You're in his house, you know?
Totally, dude. I honestly, he was right. Like, I can't blame him. The guy was right. Dude, these paper towels, shout out to HEB.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was going to say that was all planned, right? That was it. That's
yeah, this is a sponsored segment, guys. Just
that's
so
an
y'all know.
podcast sponsored ad.
Dude, I cannot believe I spilled my espresso.
I don't make mistakes, so I've actually don't have any to share. No, they're to be honest, they're many are made. I've gotten names wrong. Luckily, I've been corrected.
God, yeah.
Somehow they get written down wrong in the script. That's down to me, obviously. Not that there's a script, but my notes. I did have. Well, it's not even so much. I did have one we've not released because kind of similar to you. We thought it was okay, though I had this niggling suspicion that it didn't go well. And sure enough, the person has asked us not to release it.
Wow.
But others have watched it and still can't figure it out.
Why they said that? They can't.
Yeah, we know why they said it, but we can't understand why they said that.
Got it. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. When you watch it, you don't see what they said. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's so I won't.
That's
go
interesting.
Say anything else.
Wow, that's a first. We haven't had that. I'll be honest. That hasn't happened to us yet. Oh wait, that's a lie. We have had that happen.
You had one happen, and it's kind of similar to that one.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, ours was real though. Like I did do what they said that we did. Like, so they were right.
Well,
but I thought them taking it the step of don't release it at all, I thought was wrong. When all we needed to do was make a fix, and we could easily, literally 1 second in an episode, they didn't want to release the whole thing, which we could have easily fixed. So that was sort of BS to me. But I'm sorry.
Well,
to hear that.
mine was if what I did is true, and I have apologized, then there's nothing saving that episode.
You can't please everybody, right? Look how many interviews you do, how many people you talk to. Like it's impossible to. It's just impossible. You know, so I feel for you. Like I know I can feel for you 100%. Right? Like I would tell you, just blow it. Just don't even worry about it, because. Okay.
So you won't mind if in 20 minutes time I give you a call and say, wait a minute, I don't think we can release this. I was offended by your questions. But anyway, hey, well, Patrick, it's been great talking with you. It's always a joy.
As always.
It's a joy to watch and listen to your episodes, and keep them coming. I will see if I can make a rock up on September
Dude,
15th.
how cool would that be? If not,
that
we're
would
having
be amazingly cool.
Okay, we're definitely going to be having more. Comedy clubs is the way to go. That's we figured out. That's the perfect venue for us to do these podcast episodes out.
Okay, that's good to know. We're trying to do, since we're a little behind here in the UK in terms of opening up and stuff like that. We are trying to do something similar, but it hasn't been possible to plan anything until now. So, but we are also trying to go for a live event.
Oh man!
Probably in London with
that's awesome.
Someone big name, and I don't know if we'll be selling tickets. But we will be doing something on that order. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, man, take care of yourself. Get yourself. It's late enough. You need to grab one of these. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm aiming for a sponsorship deal. Budvar, if anyone in the Czech Republic is listening, I'm a big fan of this beer, and so please, if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, we'd be happy. Or if you're not in the Czech Republic, then name your poison. I will I will be happy to drink it, I'm sure. But take care, and we'll do this again sometime in the next season.
The next season, absolutely.
All right. Have a great summer. All right. Take care.
You too.
See ya. I just wanted to offer my thanks. This is the final episode of Season 2. And with that in mind, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a lot of people that have made this season so successful. A global pandemic be damned. First and foremost, I would like to thank our loyal listeners and viewers. Without you, there would be no point in doing what we do. The audience continues to grow by leaps and bounds, and we have some great shows in store in Season 3. I hope you have a great summer. Also want to give a big thank you to all our guests. It's become very apparent that this is indeed a golden age of documentary filmmaking. And I also want to thank all the people who put many hours of hard work behind the scenes to make this possible. Without further ado, the true heroes of Factual America, please introduce yourselves.
Actually, Sebastian, I'm going to start with you. You'll be the first. You're my top left here.
Great. Yeah, I love to. So, yeah, my name is Sebastian. I'm based in the UK. And I mean, I guess my official title is executive producer. So we have been producing this podcast now, Lone Star played for 2 years, time flies. Has been a great experience so far. Very similar with, Factual America, also around 2 years. What I like about the Lone Star Plate is that it reminds me of Texas, and I lived in Texas for quite a while. Now, even if I didn't live there for the last 2 years, I used to travel there regularly, but in the last 18 months, we were not able to travel at all. So this feels, a little bit like Texas twice a week.
That's awesome. And that voice you heard was Sebastian Sauerborn, who is the executive producer of both Factual America, Lone Star Plate, all of that, guys. So thank you so much. This is the part of the episode I told you about where you're going to meet everyone behind the scenes who works on this podcast. If you're watching it, you get to see everybody's beautiful, amazing faces. If you're listening, you get to hear the beautiful, amazing voices and, capture it both. So yeah, that was Sebastian. He's the man behind the plan, guys. Okay. When you see something cool happening, he's the reason. Okay. that's the truth. So yeah, much props to Sebastian for making all this happen. For real, legitimately, all jokes aside. Yeah, for sure. So thank you for that, Sebastian. Yeah, you did an amazing job. Love working with you. It's awesome. So, okay. Next, let's see. I'm going to go to my right here, which is going to be, let me get this name right. Malcolm Mann. Wow, beautiful. Malcolm, pleasure.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Malcolm. I live in London, United Kingdom, and I work exclusively on Factual America. I share the responsibility for the promotional posts on social media with Rose, and I also edit the transcript for the episodes as well. What do I like about Factual America? Well, I'm a complete sucker for action films. I love the Mission Impossible pictures, but unfortunately, they don't give a very wide picture of America and the diversity of subjects on Factual America are really quite stunning. From salesman right at the beginning in the 60s, various subjects to do with Texas more recently, well, death penalty especially, and quite a few in between. And it can be also an out of this world experience with the last podcast, talking about the God particle and the CERN project in Switzerland, right at the recreating the second after the Big Bang. So yeah, the range of subjects that it covers. I thought I knew one or two things about America before I started working on this, and now I know about 20 or 30 more as a result of it. It's a great experience.
That's awesome. Wow, what a great answer, Malcolm. Listen, y'all need to follow that, okay? Just saying. No, that's awesome. Really, really happy to hear that. And yes, and I always mention it on the Lone Star Plate. Please check out Factual America. It's an amazing podcast that does. It just covers a great assortment of different documentaries and topics, like Malcolm said. So thank you, Malcolm, so much, man. You do a great job. Everything you do looks fantastic. So props to you, brother. Okay. Next up is Nevena. You're up on the list here. The glue that holds everything together.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, I'm Nevena Pavlovic. I'm based in Belgrade, Serbia, and I work as a podcast manager for both the Lone Star Plate and Factual America. And I've been there since episode 1 of both podcasts. And now we are at almost 70 with Factual America and 170 with the Lone Star Plate. So it's not good for me to say like which my favorite episode is. It's like so many children and you cannot choose between all these children. Quite exciting. It's different. I learned so much with each episode, and I'm very looking forward to the fall season of both shows.
Bam. Yes. Special shout out to Nevena, y'all. She does so much for this podcast and like keeps us all together, keeps us all connected and everything, you know, at least for me personally. Big thank you, Nevena, to everything you do. I mean that. So thank you. Okay, Danilo. All right, brother, the editing masters over here. Okay, brother, you're up. Let us know how you doing. Yes, can you hear us? Yeah, you're up, brother.
Thank you. So my name is Danilo. I'm from Serbia, and I'm working as a video and audio editor on the Lone Star Plate podcast. So the best thing about the Lone Star Plate podcast is, I think, the music and the music guests you always bring, and just learning about the Texas culture that I am not familiar with. So that's the thing I enjoy in the process of working on the Lone Star Plate.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect answer. Love that.
Simple.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's one thing you learned? I'm going to put you on the spot here, Dana. What's one thing you learned about Texas from the podcast? Uh-oh. Pop quiz.
You like good food.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We're in. I like it. Well, thank you, man. You do an amazing job on the podcast. It took a different, the quality went up when you took over from me editing. Let's be real. So you do a great job. Thank you so much for everything you do, man. I can't wait for the new season. We're working out all our little things, and I'm so excited for the new episodes. So, okay, brother. Well, thank you again. Charlie, you're up, brother. Pleasure.
Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Latham. I do the show notes for both Factual America and the Lone Star Plate. Factual America, I'm a documentary nut. So to get to listen and find out about new exciting documentaries every week is just amazing. And the Lone Star Plate, I mean, Patrick, it's great to put a face to the name. You're hilarious. You have me giggles every week, I'm not going to lie. And I'm a big American fan, and Texas is definitely on my next state to visit. So excited for it.
You got a place to stay, brother, when you need it.
I'll take you up on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Charlie. Do a great job, brother. Appreciate all your hard work. Okay, but yeah. That's a good call. Okay, so Pavel, you're up.
Hey there. My name is Pavel. I'm based in Portugal. And I was working with Lone Star Plate podcast since, I think, episode 140 or something like this. And for me, it's very not hard job, because I'm just enjoying watching podcasts. I'm just chilling watching podcasts, and also edit and cut some interesting parts. So for me, basically, it's not even the work. I'm just watching the podcast, and I'm video and audio editor. So yeah, and the thing that I like is also, as Daniel said, about the musicians, because I like the music and I like to reveal for myself some new musicians. For example, last episode with Suzanne Santo, I checked her music. It's amazing. It's amazing. I have half of her music in my playlist now. So yeah, that's the plan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Her music is amazing. If anyone hasn't checked it out on here, please check it out. Suzanne Santo. I was blown. I'm not just saying that. It was literally like, whoa, shit, this is really good music.
It is.
No, she's really great. That's a great answer. That's good. I'm glad to hear that the music aspect is reaching people. I don't think y'all are the only ones to say that, to be honest with you. We get known for like I guess our like folk Texas singer interviews are really, people like those a lot, and then the performances they do. So I'm happy to hear you guys say that.
For sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Pablo. Again, same thing I said, Danilo, you do a great job, man. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you do, man. It shows. So thank you so much. Okay, Ursa, you're up.
Hello. Hi. So I'm Urša. I am based in Ljubljana, Slovenia. I take care of social media for the Lone Star Plate podcast. And the thing that I really like the most is I've always liked the feeling of being connected to like other places and people. And this opportunity gives me just that. And the team is amazing as well. So it's just a very nice, how would you say, like a nice reminder about how cool people around the world are. That's it.
No, keep going. No, I'm kidding. No,
it's okay.
That's really cool. Yeah, people are cool all around the world. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love hearing that. No, that's cool. Wait, look, we have an international team for real. So that's very cool. Well, thank you everybody for, introducing yourself. Did I miss anybody, Nevina? Did I miss anything? We need to shout out people that aren't here, right? Okay, so from the Lone Star Plate, Caroline Grape. Oh gosh, Caroline for sure needs a huge shout out. She does so much. She's always at our, helping us with the Lone Star Plate for sure, and running Texas Real Food. And Corey Mancias, who does our outreach for emailing the guest and those sort of things, trying to help us get guests. From both shows. Okay, so Labri Fernandez, she works on both shows, Factual America and the Lone Star Plate, and Jay Apuya, who was on at the beginning. We lost him. He's our graphic designer, does all those cool quotes you see online. When you see us posting on social media, he's doing all those. And who else are we missing? Rose Ponick, hope I'm saying that right, social media manager for Factual America, and Sam and Joe Graves, audio and video editors for Factual America. Am I missing anybody?
Yeah, we have like 2 more designers for doing the sales for our
right.
videos.
Okay, Marco Vukovic.
Yep.
I get that right? Yep. Thumbnail designer for the Lone Star Plate. And Sasha Popic. Is that right? Damn, y'all. Thumbnail designer for Factual America. Listen, there's a lot of names, okay? This is a lot trying to get all this right here. I always want to get names right. It's important. So yeah, right? Who else?
And of course, Matthew Sherwood, the host of Factual America.
I guess we'll bring him up. Yeah. No, of course. Absolutely. Matthew Sherwood. Yes. The host of Factual America. And that's it. I mean, that's everybody. It's a lot. That's a lot. I'm glad people got to hear from other people that work on the podcast. Again, people only see Matthew's face and they see my face, and people legitimately think like we put it together. No joke. I have people come up, oh, you do everything? Like, no, of course not. So I'm happy people can see that and see that there's other people that make all this happen, all the magic happen. Hey, Jay, do you want to do an introduction for yourself?
Hello, guys. I'm Jay. I'm based in Philippines. I'm a graphic designer for Factual America and the Lone Star Plate. My job is basically to make graphics for code statement for all the episodes of both Factual and Lone Star Plate. What I learned about Factual America and Lone Star Plate, both are informative for me. I learned stuff that I don't know, especially that I am the Philippines. The culture is different. I learned things from what I heard, and I see what I design. Yeah, I think that's all for me, guys. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Don't worry about it. You're nervous. See, this is what I got to do that all the time. I got to talk to people all the time. No, I'm kidding. Jay, you do a great job, man. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Patrick.
No, I'm glad Jay got to come back in there at the end. So, okay. Well, if there's any last words or anything, thank you again for everybody's hard work and everything they do on the podcast, and looking forward to the new seasons we have coming up. And Lone Star Plate's got an event, in-person event coming up here in September 15th. So Creek in the Cave, Austin, if anybody can make it.
Please remember to like us and share us with your friends and family wherever you happen to listen or watch podcasts. This is Factual America, signing off until September.
You've been listening to Factual America.
This podcast is produced by Alamo Pictures, specializing in documentaries, television, and shorts about the USA for international audiences. Head on down to the show notes for more information about today's episode, our guests, and the team behind the podcast. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Alamo Pictures. Be the first to hear about new productions, festivals showing our films, and to connect with our team. Our homepage is alamopictures.co.uk.